Thanks, Scotty. Scotty's our sound guy. So just imagine if in the blink of an eye you could travel to San Francisco to see the World Series. You could even beam yourself into Pac-Bell Park without a $400 ticket. I hate you, Leo. Our first guest is a futurist who has studied the feasibility of the physics of Star Trek and has his own ideas about what the future may bring. Joining us now via satellite from New York City, here's Dr. Michio Kaku. Welcome back, sir.
Glad to be on the show.
All right, so we're talking via satellite from New York to San Francisco right now, which is pretty amazing in and of itself. But will you ever be able to beam yourself here like they do in Star Trek?
Well, Star Trek is set in the 23rd century, and it may take that before we get teleporters. At the present time, there was a breakthrough made this year. We physicists can now teleport individual subatomic particles. This means that perhaps in a few decades, we may be able to teleport, for example, maybe a virus or collections of molecules. However, it is conceivable that given 100 years, 200 years, we may have the technology by which to teleport an entire human being like Captain Kirk. However, like I said, it may take until the 23rd century before we get the bugs out of quantum teleportation.
Because right now,
your breath.
We're just at the smallest, just the beginning of this process, huh?
That's right. We have a proof of principle now. We can actually teleport subatomic particles in the laboratory.
Okay, let's go on to some other stuff that we see in Star Trek. Ray guns, phasers. When am I going to be able to go down to the Kmart and pick myself up a ray gun?
Well, we already have ray guns with the power of a nuclear power plant coming at one end. However, there's a catch. This means you have to have a nuclear power plant behind your ray gun. The problem is a miniature power pack. That's the fundamental stumbling block behind any Star Wars program in outer space. You see, in space, we don't have extension cords. There's no wall socket in outer space, and we need a portable power pack other than a hydrogen bomb, which is the only known portable power pack, and you certainly don't want to blow yourself up when you battle with the Klingons.
Couple Duracell aren't going to cut it, huh?
No, I'm not going to cut it.
Do you think ray guns will be protected under the Second Amendment, Dr. Kaku?
Well, I think it's debatable. However, I think, like I said before, it's only a matter of time before we get that portable power pack. But like I said, at the present time, even the Pentagon does not have portable ways of putting power into outer space on a small satellite capable of knocking out a warhead.
Gotcha. So I travel from San Francisco down to L.A. about once a week. Flight takes me about an hour. But if we had antimatter engines like they do in Star Trek, take a whole lot less time for me to get down to Hollywood. When am I going to be able to do that?
There was a breakthrough made just last month in Geneva, Switzerland at the CERN laboratory. Scientists there have beams of antimatter. They've been able to make single anti-hydrogen atoms, that is an antiproton with an anti-electron circling. And last month they announced that they now have collections of anti-hydrogen. This is a breakthrough because it does mean that at a certain point we may be able to get large collections of antimatter. There's nothing preventing that in the laws of physics. And when antimatter touches matter, you get complete 100% annihilation, the most perfect form of energy generation known. But again, it may take a long while before we have commercially available quantities of antimatter. At the present time, it's simply too expensive. It would bankrupt the United States to create enough antimatter to energize a starship.
But if antimatter it just annihilates everything, what good is that on the back of my jet plane? It's going to blow it up.
Well, this means you have to put it in a magnetic field. Because if I have antimatter that annihilates with everything, you have to put it in a magnetic bottle. Or else if you touch it, you too will explode in a burst of gamma radiation.
Of course. I should have seen that. So we're talking via satellite right now. There's really no perceptible delay. But we couldn't communicate like this from a distance of light years. Let's say if you and I were in separate galaxies right now. However, this is another thing that they do in Star Trek. Will we ever have this sort of ability to communicate over light years?
Well, that's a catch. On Star Trek, they have to communicate with headquarters. They have to get instructions from from the Federation of Planets, and they have what is called subspace communicators. Well, that sounds pretty fancy, but there is no such thing as subspace. So far, we physicists have had no discernible way of transmitting information faster than the speed of light. This doesn't mean it's not possible. It just means that we physicists at the present time don't see any way compatible with the known laws of physics of shooting radio waves faster than light.
So you say, Einstein said it, you can't go faster than the speed of light, yet some people say that this is the way that we're going to be able to do time travel or even warp drives and this sort of thing. What about this ability to warp in space? Are we going to have to use wormholes for that, or is it something of breaking the speed of light?
The only way to break the speed of light is to stretch or break space itself. According to Einstein's general theory of relativity, space can be viewed like a blanket, like a sheet. You can bend it and stretch it and perhaps even tear it. So in other words, you may take a shortcut to Alpha Centauri. Think of being on a carpet. Instead of walking across the carpet, you simply rope the end of a carpet and then drag the carpet to you, folding the carpet, and then you simply hop across. So in some sense, you don't really go warp 10, warp 12. What you really do is take a shortcut through the fabric of space and time itself. And we do have a theory of this. We do have a theory of space warps, but it would take the energy of a star to be able to harness that fantastic cosmic power of wormholes.
Doggy Trip, are you telling me that we know that these wormholes actually exist out there? Is it just theoretical? Is it only mathematical? Is it only on paper?
Well, it's still only on paper. And if you're interested in this concept, my website is www.mkaku.org, mkaku.org. Quite a few essays on wormholes, and I'm proud to say that we hit 5 million hits just last month on that website.
Well, congratulations. People seem to like you. Problem is, a lot of people in my audience, they really don't like me. When am I going to be able to get a force field that will separate the audience from me or keep the paparazzi at bay?
Well, force fields are still on the drawing board. We can't use electricity, magnetism. We've looked at gravity. We've looked at many of the 4 fundamental forces. And so far, none of them quite fit the requirements of a force field. It seems easy. It seems like some new Thomas Edison should be able to create a force field. But at the present time, we physicists don't got a clue. Electricity, magnetism, the nuclear force, gravity, none of them fit the characteristics of a force field. But maybe one of your listeners or one of your viewers will be inspired by this show to get out there like Thomas Edison and invent a force field in their basement.
Look at him. I kind of doubt it. I don't think any of them are. No, not a chance. All right. Hey, Dr. Kaku, it's always a pleasure to have you stop by and bend our minds with your theories of physics. Take care, sir. And don't spend too much time in the holodeck, okay? It gets addictive.
I won't. Or the 23rd century. I won't spend too much time there.
Gotcha. Thanks a lot. Hey, read Dr. Kaku's article on the physics of Star Trek and discover some out-of-this-world links at our website, thescreensavers.com.